Welcome to the Mortgage Podcast, where we give tactics, strategies, and inspiration to get you to 10 plus loans per month. We talk a lot about how to make a ton of money in mortgage while also being happy and thriving in your personal life. If you want to be a mortgage millionaire, you're in the right place. Hello and welcome back to the Mortgage Podcast with Todd Screamit. Today, you need to focus. Give me like 10 minutes because this is going to blow your head. But you have to think of it. You have to be in your brain and in your heart a little bit. So this is the crossover. And so what I'm going to talk about is every single person, every single person has needs. When you know how to know what those needs are and uncover those needs, then you can do business with. That's the simple version. We're going to talk about how to do that. Okay. So I want you to write down, if you're not driving, write down an acronym. OFNS stands for observation, feeling, needs, solution. You have to go in this order, okay? And I'm going to explain that in a second. So let's talk about each step. Now, again, this is about business to business sales. You don't suffer from this so much with a borrower, because when a borrower calls you, as soon as they call you, you know what their need is. You know exactly what it is. The only question, they need a loan. So the only question is it a FHA, conventional, jumbo, bank statement, whatever, okay? You just got to find a way to solve their need. But you know what the need is. It's very clear. So people sometimes like, Todd, 1,000 times I've heard this. I'm really good with selling the client, but I'm not so good at selling the realtor. Well, you're good at selling the client because you know what their need is. So if that doesn't prove my point, I don't know what else will. When we're talking about business to business sales, you have to uncover their needs so that you can then present some sort of solution. Okay. So let's walk through this. Observation. You know, a lot of times I preach the two-step close. The first step of the two-step close is the observation stage. All you're doing is eliciting what they want, which leads to what they really need. But you have to know how to ask the questions and really drill down. For example, if I say, hey, Cindy, it's really nice meeting you, and we do some chit chat. And then I say, Cindy, when you deal with a lender, what's the biggest thing that you want from them? And she says, Todd, I only want one thing. I'm trying to grow my business. I did 15 deals last year. I want to be really aggressive this year and do 25, and I need more leads. So I started paying for Zillow and actually closed 2 deals from it last month. So I want to double my advertising budget, and I would like a lender to help me pay for it. Now, of course, they're going to get paid as well. Oh, okay. So what I see is that you really want a true business partner. And part of that's financial, to help us get a lot more leads together so that we can do more business. Yeah. Well, let me ask you a question, just so I'm clear. What would it do for you if you went from 15 deals to 25 deals? Well, I don't know. I would make more money. Yeah, I get it. But why is that important? Well, I guess now that you say it, my husband and I are talking about him staying at home. And so in my mind, it's funny, you're asking this question. I'm just having this epiphany that, right now we're both working and I'm making more money than he is. He's got a decent job, but he makes like 50 grand a year. And I made like 150 last year. So in my mind, if I could make another 50 grand, which is that extra 10 deals or so, it's actually more than that. I would make about another 100 grand a year. Home life would be so much better because I've got a better ability to earn money right now than my husband. He really would love to stay at home with the kids. They're 2 and 4 years old and they're already having problems because we're so exhausted every day working and we don't have much time with them. Plus, on top of that, it's kind of weird to say, Todd, but our marriage has not been great this last couple years. Like, do you mind explaining that a little more? Well, not to get too personal, but we used to be very lovey-dovey and we had a date night every week and all this. And ever since he's been working, it's just like, it's not been the same. And we're not fighting, like yelling at each other, but like we talked about the other night, if we keep doing this for 10 years, it's probably not going to be a marriage. Oh, gosh, I really appreciate you being so open. So you want to double your advertising so that you can do more business. That extra 10 deals a year will allow your husband to stay home with the kids and have a better marriage at the same time and go back to where it was 3 years ago. Yeah, I got it. Okay, so your need is financially based, if I hear you correctly. You really want to almost double your production quickly so that you can make all that happen. Yeah, well, let's talk about that. Okay, yeah, let's talk about it. Okay, well, we could do the Zillow thing and see if that works, but how many past clients you got? I've got about 100 now. Oh, do you get much business from them? I did like 3 deals last year from past clients. That's low. If you look at the statistics that NER publishes, 62% of all closings for realtors come from past clients. So let's find a way to take that from say 20% to 60% and let's double your advertising. And I bet you would do at least 10 more deals a year. And I know I'm not really familiar with Zillow and how all that works, but I am really good at staying in touch with past past clients. I made $300,000 in income last year just from my past clients. And that was right. So I've got a decent step on that. I've been working on it for 10 years. I've had a coach for 5 years on this. So let me share some of that with you, and then you can teach me some of the Zillow stuff. And between the two things, you'll probably do another 10, 15 deals next year. Todd, that sounds great. Now, obviously, I'm paraphrasing a potential business-to-business meeting, but I followed the framework: observation, feelings. The feelings piece, people want to skip over because we don't want to deal with the feelings. Feelings is how you get to the needs. I'll give an example. Psychologists will tell you that anytime that someone's upset at someone, say, let's use a spouse, that they're not getting a need filled. So in my relationship, we have a meeting each week. We just started this, but it really came from this same teaching. And we have a meeting each week. It's 20 minutes, and we just check in with each other. So let me give you some examples of what we check in with. And the whole purpose of this, I know I'm sidebarring, the whole purpose is for me to illustrate how important this is to get the feelings out. Because if you don't deal with the feelings, it's going to come back as negativity. You don't give me enough time. You don't care about this relationship as much as I do. You're coming home late all the time. I don't get you anymore. You're going to get that. Okay. So here's one question. Is there anything I could do next week to make you feel more loved? That's a feelings-based question. They're going to give you something, but just the fact you ask the question, they're like, he or she really cares about this relationship. Okay. Here's another one. Is there any areas where you felt prioritized and loved this last week? Yeah, actually, when you complimented me in front of all those people on my dress and how hard I've been working on my fitness, that made me feel really loved. Like you're noticing I'm doing these things. I'm making up stuff as I go, but that question is great. Let me do one more. What are 2 things I could do for you next week that would really mean a lot to you? Well, you said you were going to clean up the side yard. We've got all that junk there. I've asked you 4 times over a month, and I feel like you're not doing it, and I don't know why, but it's really bugging me. I would do it, but I can't lift all that heavy stuff. You said you were going to get a buddy or hire someone and get that taken care of. And I look at it outside the window every day, and it's driving me crazy. Oh, I'll get that done next week, honey. I want you to be happy. I don't want you to look at that junk pile. Frankly, I don't like looking at it either. I'll take care of that next week. All those 3 questions are getting to the core needs, the emotional needs that people have. Most of life is emotional. We solve them through tactics, but we need to get them to elicit the emotion. And if you skip that step, which is my main concern in this podcast, you're going to skip the feeling step because we don't want to deal with the feelings. Todd, it's business. We don't deal with the feelings. Problem is, you're not going to go anywhere. You're going to walk away thinking you had a great meeting. That person's not emotionally connected at all. They don't feel heard, and they don't call you back. So that's what happens if you don't deal with the feelings. So I wanted to go over this. It's part of the sales process. It's a simple way of explaining the sales process. It will take time because most of us have never been taught how to professionally sell and influence another person. If we don't do it in our relationships, we're probably not doing it in the business. So we've got to do it in both areas is my goal. I even started using this on my kids. So I took one of my kids. This is how simple this stuff is. I'd been out of town. I told my middle son, who I haven't seen for 2 weeks, and I said, hey, let's go to dinner. So we go to dinner. And I sensed that there was something off with us. So I said, hey, bud, it seems like we're a little bit disconnected. And that makes me feel sad because I love you as much as I love anyone on this earth. So I would like to know, what is it that you need from me that I'm not doing? And I just said it just like that. This is last night. And he said, Dad, you changed out my comforter and I hate it. Okay, let's go next week and buy another one. What else? He says, well, you made a comment that you don't like all my friends coming over, and I'm very social and I want my friends to come over. I said, oh, I remember I said that about a month ago. Let me clarify. I apologize. I was a little pissed because the trash was overflowing when I went upstairs and there was all your guys' trash all over the place. And you told me you were having 2 people over and 6 people showed up. But I said it in kind of anger and I didn't really mean that. It's your house. You can have friends over. Why don't we make a deal that if you have more than 2, you let me know? Because I love all your friends and I want you to be social. Anything else? No? I said, oh, so let me re-say what you said. We're going to go get a new comforter next week. I had no idea that you didn't like it. So I appreciate your honesty. It's no big deal. We'll go get a new one. The second one is you can have friends over. You took what I said in anger a little bit too literal and I should have clarified. I didn't mean don't ever have anyone over. I got a little frustrated. I love your friends. You can have them over. If it's more than 2, you'll text me or ask first. Is that fair? That's fair. We had a great dinner. Okay. Now you're like, Todd, really all that's about those 2 silly things. Yes, but he felt like I wasn't listening to him and he didn't know how to articulate what he was frustrated about until we sat down and dealt with it. All that's doing is pulling out the needs of the person so that we can address them, develop a plan around it. Okay. It's that simple, but we're not taught to do that. What we're taught to do is bitch, complain, judge, criticize, because we think think that's telling someone our needs, but it's not. So you've got to be able in a business setting to elicit their needs. And the process to doing that is what I just said. You'll find that once you know what their core needs are, they're usually pretty easy to solve or help them with. You don't always have to like do everything for them. That's not the point. But just by them eliciting those things, they're like, that person's different. I've never had a lender meeting like that. And you will really go to the next level, and you will go from closing 5 loans to 10 or 10 loans to 18. Like, it will happen because your business to business clients are getting their feelings heard and their needs satisfied. That's the whole point. So I know this takes some focus. It takes some thinking. You may want to listen to this a few times because it's a simple concept, but if it were simple, everyone would do it. So it's a simple concept, but hard to execute. But if you were to spend 20, 30 hours learning this process and practicing this process, you will come out much better than you ever were before at communicating and influencing business to business people. And like I referenced, it works in your personal life just as well or better. Okay. I hope you enjoyed this. Please send it to one person. That's how this stuff goes. Have a beautiful day.